Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. It's question and answer time, so anything goes. You can unmute yourself, type in, go ahead and fire away.
And go ahead, Heather, then Ralph.
Hey Heather.
Hello, good evening. How are you?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Doing great.
Aren't
But
you out in San Diego? Like,
yes,
did you
yeah,
get hit by the storms very bad or
it was a little bit of rain, but nothing like the four
not too
inches or
bad?
whatever they said. No, a little bit
Okay.
of wind, so it was okay. More inland and desert, I guess, and the mountains
Yeah,
got
it's
more flooding. So I fared well. Thank
good.
you.
Good.
Yes, didn't have to hunker down too much.
Yeah.
Oh, I do have a stubborn, well, I should say that differently. I have a client with a
Uh-huh.
stubborn issue. The issue seems to be stubborn. I was hoping I could get some insight on
Sure.
maybe a different way of how to tackle this, or maybe what could be going on. She's an older lady,
Mhm.
76-year-old.
Okay.
She had a car accident the end of
Okay.
2021. She was a
Right.
passenger. She has some neck problems, I guess bulging discs. Is that what spondylosis is? Um,
Yeah, that actually is the um, yeah, it's like it's a thing that's out, but like sometimes the bones like will slip forward. And
okay,
so the issue with that is that can turn into an autoimmune issue, like just because of the misalignment of the spine. It
okay.
throws the body into like a little bit of a weird chaos, but that's probably not what you're asking about. But like, so
Mm,
go ahead and give me a full layout and we'll go from there.
yeah, well, maybe I should start with like the chief complaint is that she's having humming in her head.
Yeah.
Humming. It'll either be at the top or on the sides or both sides. She does wear a hearing aid in the right ear. I don't know for how
Okay.
long. She has recently had an MRI on her head and it was unremarkable. So, like those
Right.
little tiny, uh, little, I know veins is not the right word, but the little tiny parts in the ear, none of those are kinked up or anything.
Okay.
Um, Back right after the accident, she did have an MRI of her neck, and that's where it said the spondylosis from
Right.
C2 to
Right.
C7, but no acute fractures, no instability.
Okay.
And so I can work on her one night. The next morning she's okay, but then, a couple hours into the day or even an hour into the day, she's um distressed about the humming that she's
Okay.
experiencing.
So let's just talk about nerves for a second, and then we'll talk about like how to address this.
Mhm.
So the issue a lot of times, and I mean, I think you articulated like all the issues that are the potential problems like perfectly.
Okay.
The, in any time like you can think of like the nerves have these like certain pathways, and
Mhm.
anytime there's pressure put on the nerve,
Right.
if there's a moderate amount of pressure it excites the nerve. If there is a lot of pressure the nerve goes to sleep and you'll start to lose like muscle tone. And she, with the humming, you're in the moderate amount of pressure. And
Okay.
so I would say with the car accident, there is like tension on the neck. There's potential like bulging or a herniated disc, a thinning disc. So you have those issues, and those two rope muscles that come down the front. You always kind of want to
Mhm.
look at those for the inner ear, but I think you probably have a little bit of when there's an accident like that, um sometimes even like the tissue on the head, like on the skull, will
Mhm.
get really wound up. And it's funny that you're the very first one to talk tonight, because you know what I was going to do tonight is like, let's talk about headaches and unwind the headaches and go from the forehead, and we're like going to go down the back head and all that. And so you would do some version of that.
Mhm.
A lot of times, even though the accident is like the neck, like things can get wound up in the neck, and then it will start to cause like trigger points up in the forehead. And uh, it's possible that this sternocleidomastoid, or this like muscle right here,
Mhm.
that is the trapezius, the upper part of the trapezius where the neck and shoulders meet. When they're super activated, they can cause a little bit of buzzing or humming in the ear. And she's not having like vertigo or anything like that. She's just got the buzzing in the ear.
Sometimes she has the vertigo, but she hasn't mentioned that
Yeah.
for a couple of months.
Okay, well, good. So you're making progress. So that's very, very good. So you're making progress there. Um, I mean, you can always like work energetically on the ears, the ear canals, but
Yes.
I would say a lot of times with the buzzing and humming, I'd actually even work on the brain, because
Yes.
sometimes what's happening is the neurotransmitters are like misfiring, and that's the buzzing sound that or the humming sound that they're hearing. You know, back in like I think it was like the 1950s, they did this thing where they took a bunch of patients that had really bad ringing in the ears,
Mhm.
and it was so bad it was driving them crazy. And you know, a surgeon or a couple of surgeons decided to go in and sever the nerves to the ear. You know, it was going to make the person deaf, but the theory was that it was going to make the ringing in the ears stopped. And what happened was they became deaf, but the ringing continued. Like, so it's actually not always, and most times, not the ear. So there's either
Right.
like something in the like the brain is misfiring a little bit, or you have disc issue, and for that I would say pretty high, like you know, C1, C2, C3. Like I'd really look at those.
Okay.
And even when you're working on the inner ear, there's like the back of the head kind of comes like this, and then there's what the brain sits on that's like this, and there's this little
Okay.
tiny joint that kind of goes like this. And I'm exaggerating the movement, it's not that much, but there's just this little bit of movement. And with car accidents, sometimes it will like kind of dislodge, like you
Mhm.
know, not like, it's like if you have a bone out in your back, it's like a bone out in your head a little bit, and it can cause all kinds of weird dysfunctions. And one of the ways to access that is through the ears or through the base of the skull. And by going through and treating that area across the base of the skull, going into the ears, treating the brain, and I'd really thoroughly treat the spine, but especially that C1, C2, C3,
Mhm.
and then those two muscles, the rope-like muscles, the sternocleidomastoid. I mean,
Yes.
they are literally the whiplash muscle. Like it doesn't matter what direction they get hit, like side or front and back. The only difference is that, like, depending on what direction you get hit, they get wound up in different spots. And here I would just say treat the whole thing. So you can use, you know, you're using energy work, go through, and I mean, I'd sweep directly on them, and then
Mhm.
energy essential oil wise, I'd use things
Yes.
like marjoram or black pepper, thyme linalool, something that increases circulation, and is antispasmodic. Another one that's really soft and gentle that could be very good for that is terebinth. You know, have her just rub the
Mm.
terebinth along the sides on those two rope muscles. And even like what I'll have them do is like take a little bit of the oil and rub it on the spots, and then just keep rubbing it just real gently, you know, not trying to dig in or something.
Mhm.
And it's a way for them, it's not gonna fix the problem, but in times when they're like stressed out or their breathing's off or something, it's a way to kind of calm that muscle down a little bit. And
Okay.
I mean, it works better on kids, but still with adults, I've used it a bunch of times. And you know, it's no magic bullet, but it calms things down. The other thing that I would look at is make sure that, you know, that's kind of the primary thing that I would address, but I would also make sure that her breath is like deep enough, you know, because like when this goes, the next thing is uh spasms in the diaphragm. And like when you
Okay.
start to get spasms in the diaphragm, like the whole torso starts just going down a bad place. You know what I mean? It's like all
Sure.
those muscles are trying to elevate the rib cage against that diaphragm. And you know, if you really think that it's the little muscles that run along the spine, because the thing with the diaphragm is when the diaphragm is tight, the spinal muscles that kind of hold the vertebrae in place and allow it to twist and everything, they tighten up. And so like sometimes you go through and you deepen the breath, but they're so wound up, they don't always release kind of quickly. Litsea cubeba,
Okay.
inhaled, applied topically, taken internally, any of that will relax those little multifidi muscles along the spine. And so, I mean, I know I've probably given you a little bit to digest here. We'll edit this out and we'll send it to you. Like, well, let's make a note of that. And
Okay.
so we'll edit it and send you a link so you can kind of go through and listen to it again. But I like the brain, the
Thanks.
ears, but you're not necessarily just trying to decongest the canal, the ear canal. You're really kind of trying to work it's called the spinobasilar joint. And it's just this little joint that, you know, goes back and forth, but it can go side to side and it can like rock and lock. And usually like that is more like migraines and seizures and things like that, but usually a little disarticulation, you know, disarticulated joint like that can cause like the buzzing and the weird sensations in the head. So I do that, the base of the skull, like side to side, like the whole back side, and then those first few vertebrae. You should be able to reduce it.
So that doesn't
Yeah,
keep coming back up
yeah,
like the
so that it
following day
doesn't
or
keep
10
coming back.
hours.
And the other thing that I would look at is you know, because basically you're just gonna have to start like problem solving with her, because it could be a number of things and it could be a little bit of everything. And so you just start going and treating things and just seeing what responds. But a byproduct of whiplash also is very tight jaws, like, you know, bruxing and
Mhm.
tight jaws. And so one of the things that's a rule of thumb is you have them, like, basically you have them open their mouth as wide as they can and then see how many fingers they can get in, like knuckles like that.
Okay. Yeah.
And if the jaw is not wound up, they should be able to get their 3 middle knuckles in. But most people can only get the 2.
I
Like
pass. Okay.
yeah, what's that?
I pass. I tried
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So what you can do there is also unwind the jaws, like, and that will take you a little while. You know, that could be from the accident, that could be from adrenal overstimulation, you know, post accident, you know, so that starts to be like multiple things that you might have to look at. But right off the bat,
Right.
there was a whiplash. I would treat it as a soft tissue issue right off the bat. And then if it's not responding, then I would look to start problem solving.
Okay. Because
Yeah.
the odd thing I'm running into is that when I scan that following morning, I'm not really picking up on too much energetically that's off, other than like way more negative chords that have appeared.
Chords, I mean, chords will overstimulate the sympathetic part of the nervous system, and so I mean that's possible. I mean that the chords are agitating it, but still, if she didn't have the predisposition, she could hit those chords and that wouldn't happen. Like, so there's still something up there that's off. Is she real, like, does she have anxiety or panic or real fearful?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So
I
because after the accident and the humming and whatnot, she's afraid that, the
Yeah,
humming is going to cause a stroke, or she's
right.
going to have some type of major thing because of this. And so she's very fearful.
So that's the thing that happens with injuries is the person will, I mean, it's just mechanics
Mhm.
that the person can get really fixated on the condition, which
Yes.
they're trying to manage it and make sure it doesn't happen again, but it also makes it harder to address. And it's almost like you're trying to pry something out of their hands a little bit. They're not doing it on
Yes.
purpose. It's just that's what's happening. And
Exactly.
so one of the ways to handle something like that is you can have them, be it with energy work or with the oils, is have them really focus on a problem spot. So say we're doing it with oils. In fact, let's just do it. Let's actually practice this real quick. So pull out, have everybody, let's pull out something like marjoram or wintergreen, hyssop, thyme, terebinth. If you don't have any of that, maybe lavender, something that's a bit antispasmodic, ginger. Okay, I think that's good. Everybody probably has.
Yeah. I think-
Okay, so let's do this. Like, move your arms around and let's see how we're going to do this. Okay, let's do it like this. You're going to do your left elbow. And at first, you're gonna inhale whatever oil it is. So you move your left arm around and see how it feels. Inhale with your awareness on the left elbow, like the front, the sides, the back, like the whole elbow. You're inhaling and you're trying to stay as focused as possible on the elbow. Your galbanum would work. You just grab it. Just right
Oh, yeah.
there. However. So you're inhaling still on your left arm.
Left elbow, left arm.
I'm sorry, left elbow. Okay, and then pause and let go. Just pause and let go for a moment. Okay, move your left arm around. Notice how it feels. Mhm, mhm. Okay, so you notice it's starting to feel a little different, right? So again, inhale, you're focused on that left elbow still. Long, slow, deep breaths. Okay, and then just pause and let go again. And again, move the left arm around and just see how it feels. Like even compare it to the other side and just go, oh, it's feeling X amount of better, right? How's that feeling for you?
Yeah, it's feeling different.
It's feeling different, right? Okay, so now to address the thing that Heather is talking about, we're going to do something slightly different. Okay, so you're still doing your left elbow, but we just want to see like how much better this gets, right? So you're gonna use the same oil. You're focused on the left elbow. You're taking long, slow, deep breaths. You're still doing the same thing. Your left elbow, still taking long, slow, deep breaths. Okay, you're gonna let go of the inhalation, right? But instead of just letting go completely, you're gonna let go and your awareness is on the whole left arm. Not just the elbow. You're not inhaling. Your awareness is just on the left arm. We start talking. Your awareness is on your arm. You're not inhaling yet. Okay, focus again, left elbow, and begin inhaling with whatever oil you've been using. You're focused on the left elbow specifically. let go of your focus. Now your awareness is just on your whole arm. You're not inhaling anymore. Your awareness is on your whole arm. Right, just awareness. Yeah. You're just practicing awareness. Okay. I mean, this is a little simple thing, and we didn't do super comparative, but like, how did your left arm feel compared the first time versus the second time? Right. And maybe since we're doing this with Heather, we'll just do it with Heather.
Yeah.
So Heather, like when you were doing this, like when we did it the first time, the elbow feels like, oh, it feels a little different. And then the second time, what did you notice?
It seems as if the focus on the entire arm helped, I guess, relax the entire arm as
Right.
opposed to just the elbow.
So two things are happening here. And you know, like I kind of put a lot of thought in like how to do this like across the board, and we're going to kind of start talking about it. But this is like what something I've done in healings for a very long time, is because I mean, you nailed it. Like the person, because of pain, because of injury, because it's not getting better, they get fixated on it, and then you're doing healing and you're kind of wrestling with their mind to do it, and they're not consciously doing it. Like, you know what I mean? They might be consciously saying things, but it's more of this like unconscious drive to do this. And so for one thing that you're doing is you're having them like focus and then release, but you're keeping the awareness there. Anytime there's focus, there is a moderate amount of energy that goes in when they're focused on an area. But when they let go and they go into awareness, that's when a tremendous amount of energy goes into the area, not just from what you're doing or what the oils are doing, but from their physiology, their soul connection, whatever that might be. But also what you're doing is you're training them to like, okay, focus, now let go. Now focus and let go, and focus and let go. And so what you're doing is you're training their nervous system to like disengage that focus so that it can allow the healing process to happen. And so even like if you're doing healing, you go, okay, focus on your elbow and go through and do some work, clean the aura, clean a chakra or something, and then go, okay, now let go, but keep your awareness on the arm. And then go through and do some more. At that point, clean their spine a lot, because a lot's just going to come out of their spine. And then go, okay, focus. And after a few times, you're training them to be able to let go so that energy can go in and the healing process can engage. It's a lot like, in the early days for me with meditation, I like they'd say let go, and I was like, okay, I feel fine. I don't feel anything. Like I feel like I normally feel. My eyes are closed. I feel relaxed, but that's it. And I wouldn't have a like expansion that would register in my mind. And so the instructions given to me where it was stay awake as long as you can, and then when you're exhausted, meditate, and at that point you'll leave the body, and then it becomes easier. Right. So you're literally kind of training the basic chakra to be able to go let go for a moment. And then you do it a couple more times, and it's like you're retraining the nervous system. And then it makes it easier for you to get in there and do healing, and them not to be so attached or so focused on it. So whatever thing is like the thing that she gets really super focused on, have her focus on it while you're either inhaling oils or doing healing, and then let go. And she can completely let go, but I would say the thing that I usually have them do is put their awareness on their forehead and their back head. Like put your awareness on the forehead and back head, because that's just filling the body with light. And then, okay, now focus back on the situation, and then pull them back and go, okay, awareness on the forehead and back head. And you're getting them more engaged. It's more of physical experience that they can connect to. Like it's making it more real in their mind, but you're teaching them to like be able to disengage from that condition.
Excellent. Okay.
So
That should be
I
helpful.
mean, the byproduct of that fixation is anxiety and fear. And so
Right.
that's why I was asking, like, is she going into that state? Because there's going to be a sleep disorder, there's going to be anxiety, there's going to be fear, there's going to be all those steps.
Yes.
And, you know, trying to address them all independently has an impact. But like if you really go like that fixation is the source. So if you can unwind that, going back and treating those other things becomes much easier. And if you think about like when somebody gets really fixated, they also kind of clinch up and hold in their body a little bit. So they're holding in their spine. And that is a natural thing that happens after a whiplash is you kind of are like, I got to stabilize myself. Life was chaotic. My car got hit. Like, you know what I mean? So you're
Yes.
like, uh, and then it just never stops. And so, you know, unwinding the spine, unwinding some of those spots, and then going back and forth like that will unwind it very quickly, or quicker, I should say.
Yeah, we gotta get past this whole fixation
I'm glad to
thing because it
talk you
seems
through
like
this. I'm glad to talk you through this
Yeah.
more if you want. I'd start experimenting with it.
yeah, that's where I'm at. That's why for a couple
Yeah.
weeks I haven't been able to get in to ask you. There's been so
Yeah.
many other questions, and it's like we've got to figure out how we can start tackling this another way. Because
Yeah.
most all the things you've said with, the areas, the ears,
Right.
the ear canals, the jaws, the spine, the brain, done all of that. But I really like the whole base of the skull part, and then this spinal basilar joint. I'll look
Right.
that up.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think the terebinth will be really key for her because then that's something she can do, and it's kind of like a self-soothing type
Yeah,
of
it's
thing.
self-soothing, it's very gentle. She couldn't overdo it. If she dumped the whole butter on her body at once, she'd be okay. I mean, it might feel a little weird, but she'd be fine. So
Right.
she can kind of go to town with it and it would be okay.
Now, as for the Litsea cubeba for the spine, is that to apply directly to the spine or just inhale
Actually,
with focus on the
probably
spine?
if she's up to it, I would say a couple drops on water and just have her take it internally.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be
safety.
easiest. And if she doesn't want to do that, then just lots of inhalations.
Okay. Yeah, because it can be sensitizing to some people.
Yeah.
So,
That one can be. Yeah.
okay. Excellent. All right. Wish me luck.
Yeah. And like I said, glad to talk you through things. And so if you have questions, shoot us an email or, you know, jump back on again at some point. But
Okay. Thank you very much,
you're
Greg.
so welcome.
And then go ahead, Ralph, then Christina.
Hey, Ralph.
Good evening, Greg. I
Hey.
have a bottle of Three Wise Men that has turned really thick, like almost impossible to get anything out.
Yeah. The
And I
residents
stuck it
do
in
that.
some hot water this morning
Uh-huh.
for a couple hours, and it loosened up a little bit, but it's still so thick that I've got some little plastic pipettes off Amazon that I
Uh-huh.
use for getting little drops of oil out,
Uh-huh.
and the pipette is not picking up any oil.
Did it liquefy when it got really hot? Like you made
Just
like
a-
a cup of
just a-
tea and
No,
popped it
it
in.
was like just I could put my finger in the water, so it was just mildly warm
Get
water.
it boiling hot. You gotta get
Boiling
it
hot
boiling hot.
water.
Yeah.
Okay.
Boiling hot water. And then boiling hot water and then, you know, drop it in, you know, be careful not to burn your fingers, but like
Okay.
get it like to a boil, stick it
Mhm.
in there, let it be there for a little bit. A lot of times it will just stay liquid like that after a while, but
Mhm.
if not, you can add like a few drops of like jojoba or alcohol just to make it a little thinner. But all the heavier oils can do that, especially the culprit's probably the myrrh. Like
Okay.
myrrh is I mean, I still buy special myrrhs that have less potential for doing that. It still does it, but the old myrrhs that I used to get, like it was solid and I'd have to heat it every time I would bottle it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alcohol. So I have a bottle of vodka. Is that
Yeah, that's fine.
okay? Okay. Foot bath. Can I use
Mhm.
instant coffee and salt for my foot bath?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
But
right.
use a bunch. Like like when I
Yeah.
used to do like before the coffee oil was available, I used to do coffee baths and I would get a full like instant coffee thing and dump it in the bath.
Yeah.
You might not want to do that for a foot bath, but still like maybe half of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Um, the emotional release blend, is there a single oil that will do a similar kind of thing?
St. John's wort's a good choice. Uh Rose could do some for some and Melissa for others. Like if it's anger or fear, Melissa's probably a little bit better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of Melissa, um, for antiviral purposes, which is what I'm thinking of at the moment, what's the differences of Melissa versus bay laurel versus tea tree?
For antiviral purposes,
Yes.
the strongest one out of those three would be your Melissa. Melissa is very, very strong antiviral.
Okay.
Bay laurel is a very strong antiviral, but I would say the thing that's nice about bay laurel is it's a wide spectrum antibacterial as well.
Okay.
And so, you know, that's the thing a lot of times with viral infections is there's usually a secondary like bacterial infection.
Mm-hmm.
And so, boy, it's a bread and butter oil.
Okay.
And then the third one was
Tea
what was the
tree.
tea
Tea
tree?
tree.
Tea tree is very good. I mean, it has antiviral properties to it.
Mm-hmm.
I would say bay laurel is a bit stronger in that area. Antibacterial, antifungal. I mean, it's another one that's a good wide range, wide spectrum kind of thing to use to treat things.
Okay.
Um, I find it to be one of the best antifungals there is, you
Yeah.
know, as far as topical or even a little bit internal. Yeah.
Okay. I noticed I was looking on the website and you have a joint relief / licorice ointment.
Mhm.
What's the added benefits of putting licorice with the joint relief?
It has a uh uh it has a bit of a like an anti-inflammatory effect, like a little bit of a like a steroid effect. So it just
Okay.
helps to reduce some of the inflammation in the area. Yeah.
Okay.
So it just enhances it. Like you know, there actually is an absolute of licorice, but I always found it to be a little too strong. And so I never really stocked it just because like if you're using excessive amounts of licorice root, it can induce a lot of water retention.
Mhm.
And you know, not being in a place where I could, you know, tell everybody how to use it, not use it, and stand over them and make sure that they don't do that.
Yeah.
I won't put it out because of that.
Okay.
And so the licorice root in this form is just like an herbal thing. You know, they
Mhm.
macerate it and they put it in. It would be really hard to overdo it. And
Mhm.
so like I like the combination. The licorice root's really good for things like that. Not so good by itself, but when you start mixing it with some of the other things, it can be quite amazing. And so, you know, here, you know, there's a decent amount there, but
Mm.
it's not the main course. It's more like, you know, the
It
salt and
supports the
pepper that
joint
you
relief.
add to give it a little flavor. You know,
Okay.
it's just a nice little thing. It does make the joint relief work a bit better, but the joint relief is also pretty sound on its own.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like when I'm making ointments, I always like to kind of like go, how can we make this better? Or a body tonic, how can we step up our game in this area?
Mhm.
So yeah.
Okay. Cystis. I know
Mhm.
we inhale that. Do we ever take it internally?
Yeah, you can. It's still very balancing to the two sides of the brain and things like this.
Mhm.
Usually internally, it's more for you know, because it's a very astringent oil. It's
Yeah.
usually more for some sort of bleeding, like in the lungs or in the digestive tract, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
and obviously topical for some things.
Yeah, topical, and I mean, meditation, balancing out the brain function. Uh, Pretty hard to beat that one. You know, it's good for a lot of things for the nervous system and the brain, the mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
So so brain balancing, obviously spray would be a good thing. Why would I want to do an ointment versus a spray for cystis?
Yeah, I don't know that there would be a big difference either way.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, either way could go with that.
All right. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
That's it for tonight. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And then go ahead, Christina, then Deborah.
Hey, Christine.
Let's get you unmuted. Oh, I just muted you. Sorry. Go ahead and unmute yourself again. That's my bad.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. How are you?
Oh, hi, good. How are you, Greg?
I'm doing good.
I wanted to thank you for the weekend class. You gave me an idea to add a service to my center.
Oh, good. How's the center going?
It's going, it's a little slow on the uptake like any business, but I've got some clients that came through and a couple calls and stuff. And I wanted to say I really appreciate Sam's energy and effort into the newsletter because I'm working on mine and it takes a lot of work.
Yes, it does.
So
So
thank you
she
very
was so
much,
proud.
Sam.
She changed it up a little bit and used a new template, and so that newsletter is her baby. She loves it when you guys notice. So
Yeah, I can understand that. So a few questions for me, and this should be pretty short, I think. Okay, so in terms of essential oils, you said sometimes it's better for kids not to use it because of the dosage or the strength.
well, it depends on the oils. There's a handful of oils that work really good for kids, and when we're saying kids, it's usually about 8 years old and under. You know, even at 7 and 8, it's starting to change. But like, for example, peppermint or eucalyptus globulus, a little too strong for a little kid. And so there's a handful of oils. Thyme linalool is very good for anything that's like immune related, infectious disease, liver function, anything of that nature. Thyme linalool is the go-to thing for a little kid. Anything respiratory, myrtle or green myrtle are two really good choices. They're respiratory, they open things up, but they're not overly stimulating, you know, because that's the thing with a child is like it can be a little too overstimulating. Like, for example, if you take eucalyptus globulus and you put it like right on their chest, like you would think that it opens up the breath, but after a while it's too strong and it will actually make the breath a little bit shallow, and so it can be a little too much. You know, if you had to do it in a pinch, you'd put it more on the backside between the shoulder blades rather than on the front side. Roman chamomile, very good for inflammations, liver function, colic, you know, even when they're throwing little fits and things like that. Lavender, incredibly relaxing. Lavender is like Valium to a baby. Like it's just very, very relaxing. Now, the key is when you're putting it on the baby, put it on the arms and legs first before the abdomen. Because if you go right to the abdomen, the baby will have like a protective mechanism where they tighten up a little bit and then they won't unwind. But if you undo the arms and legs first, they'll just completely unwind. So lavender, and another one that they tend to like that's antispasmodic and soothing to the emotions and things is mandarin. Mandarin works really well for babies. When they get a little moody and they get hard to redirect, we use African bluegrass a lot. Melissa for really bad fits and nightmares and things like that, but a lot of times you can knock it out with the Roman chamomile.
So can kids, let's say 8 years old and you know, to 18 or whatever, can they do the salt baths and foot baths?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Even
And-
even a little baby, you just cut down the amount of salt and everything. But after 8, you start kind of treating them like an adult. You just don't give them quite the dosage. And then by the time they're 10 or 11, game on.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, now, I remember you said with animals that are anxious, we could use basil and,
Basil's a solid choice for animals, and keep in mind that oils are never for being around birds. Like birds, their lungs can't process the oils or incenses or anything like that. So that's why sometimes you'll hear me go, "Do you have a bird?" When we're talking to somebody about like treating an animal. But basil, lavender, chamomile, even valerian or spikenard can be used pretty easily, but there's several oils that are not good for an animal, like wintergreen, birch, things like that. So I'd keep it really simple. We had several people had animals that had separation anxiety, and one of the ones that worked for them is we'd have them diffuse marjoram, and that seemed to work. And so like I'd kind of keep it in that realm unless they were dealing with something kind of more specific. But I can try to go through and pull together some notes about things to not do with animals, just so you could kind of troubleshoot. But it's a lot like a kid. Like you usually don't have to be as aggressive with a pet as you would like somebody who has a health issue. You just kind of keep nudging their body along, getting them to rest, because you can almost tell they either get really anxious or really lethargic as they get sick. And so that's like one of the indicators. The thing also with an animal, which you probably know, but you always watch the amount of urination that they're doing, like how much water are they drinking, or are they urinating. You want to watch for like potential kidney issues, especially in dogs.
well, I have a couple of cats, animals that came through my center. And they, they're pretty sick, tumors and stuff like that, so they're pretty anxious. And I remember what you said about the basil.
I would try basil.
uh,
That's
Yeah,
the
so would I put like 2 drops on the palm and then rub it against their spine? I remember. you said
exactly. Yeah, a couple drops and then go like against the fur from the
I
tail.
usually have the
head.
pet parent do it because they're so anxious.
Yeah.
Yeah, but okay. And
Yeah.
then, in terms of application, this is for adults, for helichrysum on scars.
Uh-huh.
Do you put like a couple drops on cotton balls and then on the scar?
I honestly, unless their skin is like crazy sensitive, I just drop 3 or 4 drops on the spot and just kind of rub it all over the scar area and just let it dry.
Oh,
Yeah.
and then would you do that? I guess it would depend on how old the scar is or how deep. Would you do it daily?
I would do it daily for a little while. If it's like a fresh scar or like a scar that's really keloided and gotten really thick, you could do it 2 or 3 times a day. But usually with treating a scar, you usually don't need more than 1 bottle. Like, unless it's some like crazy surgery that like really opened up the abdomen and there's all kinds of internal scarring or something. As far as the scar tissue, usually a bottle, every once in a while 2 bottles, but after 5 mils, you're usually pretty solid with the scar.
And I
Like
remember,
I've taken things that have been really keloided and really thick, and you keep applying it, and the line is still there, but the keloid will diminish, and the tightness and the heaviness and like the thickness, it just goes away.
and it doesn't matter how long the scar is or how
No,
long.
it could be a 40 or 50-year-old scar. It could be a scar from last week. Wouldn't matter.
Yeah,
In
I
fact,
gave,
when I get like a cut or something, we just did this last week. I was doing something, I cut myself, and Samantha had one a couple weeks prior, and just dropped like helichrysum on it, and I mean, it takes the pain out, it cleans it up, and it kind of starts to close it. And I still put a band-aid on it, but just to cover it. But it takes the pain out, cleans it up, reduces the inflammation. If there's going to be bruising, it reduces that. It's just like a go-to thing for that. And Samantha's, you could actually kind of see the tissue starting to move together to close the bind. So it helps it heal in a much like an accelerated rate.
Now in the workbook, over the weekend, that you gave us,
Mhm.
you have, categories like body tonic and stuff, and then underneath you have conditions, and then a list of oils.
Mhm.
So can we convert those to like maybe to a salt bath or foot bath?
You
Do you know
you
what I
can. Part of what I did there is some things work a little bit better as a spray or a body tonic or a salt bath. And so they do overlap, but like what I put in each of those categories are like A choices. And so you can kind of drag them over and do that, but sometimes like something might be a great salt bath, but not a great spray. You know what I mean? Or not a great like ointment or something, but man, it's really awesome as a salt bath. And so you know, one that kind of does that for me, like I don't know about for other people, lavender salt baths are amazing. Lavender ointment, I'm always like, it's nice, but like there's 30 things that I could have done that was better. But in the salt bath, lavender salt bath is really nice. You know, so the application sometimes there's like shining stars, but you can always kind of overlap it. Yeah.
Okay, last question. I'm working with a client right now. She actually brought her cat to the center. Her
Mhm.
cat has a mass in the abdomen. But the client herself is a stage 4 breast and bone cancer survivor. And so I was talking to her about energetic cleansing and stuff like that. And she's open to salt baths and essential oil. So I was wondering if there's something I can recommend for her for herself.
How long ago was the cancer?
She's in remission for 3 years.
3 years. Oh, good for her.
Yeah,
Yeah,
her
a couple more years, she hits one of the markers, the 5-year marker.
Yes, she said she went through radiation and chemo, and she got really, really sick from that.
Yeah.
And then her oncologist said to her, if you don't take this chemo pill the rest of your life, you're gonna die in
Okay,
X amount of
so
months."
I'm going to give you two choices. I'm going to say one, this would be ideal, and the ideal one would be helichrysum. And the reason lymphatic stimulant reduces inflammation, but part of the thing with like the chemo and going through all those treatments and everything,
She's not doing that anymore.
but she went through it like, you know, years
Yeah.
ago. So like there's an effect on the liver. So it will help jumpstart some of the things with the liver that might have gotten compromised. And then on top of that, the helichrysum helps with even if she had a good attitude through that whole situation, it was traumatizing. You know, there was her before that, you know, that incident, and then after. And the helichrysum kind of helps with the trauma of the situation as well. And the helichrysum hits it on a lot of levels, but if cost is a little bit too much, Palo Santo. Do Palo Santo.
So helichrysum salt bath
Yeah, like 12, 15 drops, you know, a pound of salt, and
once
you
a
know, if
month,
she
I
could,
mean, once a week, or
I would do 1 to 2 times a week. I mean, she might feel so good, she might do more, but at least once a week.
what's the maximum?
Daily. She could easily
Oh,
do them daily. Yeah. I mean, rarely does somebody do that, but if she wanted to, daily.
Wow. Okay, yeah, she's a real trooper. I like her. Anyways, yeah, that's all my question. Thank you so much.
Okay, yeah.
You guys are welcome to come and teach anytime in my
Yeah,
center.
well, whenever we're there, I want to see the center.
Oh, yeah, come. Thank you.
How far away are you from Astara?
Oh,
Like 45
Probably.
minutes?
probably, yeah, I'm like 10 minutes east of downtown LA.
Oh, okay. Hey, I can make Chinatown and come seeing you
Yeah.
all at once. Perfect.
Yeah, there you go. Get a palm reading.
Yeah,
done
yeah.
in Chinatown.
I haven't been to Chinatown in ages.
Oh, we don't go there anymore because where I live, it's 98% Chinese.
Oh,
So
what?
whatever we need is here, and
Just right there?
yeah,
You
and
type.
then we have a
Wow.
lot of people are really into foot massages and reflexology, and that's kind of where I got my the idea from your class to do foot baths.
Oh,
for
nice.
people,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
with a medical aromatherapy twist.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. So, thank you so much, Greg.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Deborah, then Sonia.
Hey, Deborah.
Hey, Greg. You can tell I'm in Florida. I just got eaten up by some fire ants, and I put tea
You're
tree
just
oil.
killing time until the mosquitoes swarm in.
I put tea tree oil on it, which usually really helps, but I have put 3 applications on it in the last half hour.
You could try lavender, like Roman chamomile, helichrysum, like blue tansy, dark blue tansy, German chamomile. Some of those should, like, you might need a little bit more anti-inflammatory things. And then here's the other thing. I don't know what you have handy, but a lot of times, if you support like an allergic response. So oil wise, like say you threw a couple drops of Melissa down, in some water and drank it, or maybe Neoli if you didn't have that, or you had some quercetin, take some quercetin, and if not that, even a Benadryl. Just like find a Benadryl, pop a Benadryl. Like it will, because part of what's happening is you're having inflammation, you're having all those things happen. It's part of it is it's an allergic response, so calm it down topically and then try to calm it down internally.
Great to know.
Yeah. Like, you remember like back about, I don't know, 10 years ago, there was that big outbreak of bed bugs on the East Coast.
Recording in progress.
And people were trying all kinds of things and topically and everything, because they'd go stay at a hotel or something and they get, it was a nice hotel, but they'd get bed bugs and bites all over them. And we tried all kinds of things. And then finally I was just like, I'm treating this like it's not a bug bite. Like, let's treat it like it's a bug bite. I just had them start pounding quercetin. They didn't even have to treat it topically. It went away. Yeah.
Okay, and quercetin, I've heard you mention that before, and it is a natural type of.
It's a crude form of vitamin C, which stays in your body longer and has a much more significant anti-allergic effect. Like, it has an antihistamine effect. And so if you don't have that, like, I mean, I'd just use something you had in the house. Like, so if you don't have that, just find a Benadryl and pop a Benadryl. You're just gonna have to do it once.
Okay, I will,
Yeah.
but for future, so that I can avoid the Benadryl.
It's good because quercetin's good for just elevating vitamin C in the body, stabilizing collagen and things in your body like that, but very strong for vein health. Like if the veins get really fragile, like you have the tendency to have like breakages in some of the vessels and things like that, it can be helpful. So like varicose veins and things would be an example of that. Or for allergies, like allergies and asthma, things like that. It's pretty hard to beat quercetin with things from the health food store. That's usually like kind of the main go-to thing.
Actually, I do have it.
Yeah, perfect. Like 3 of them. Just pop them.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you'll probably only need to do it once or twice, and then you'll be good.
But I take it almost daily, just 500 milligram. So
Bump it up. Yeah, bump it up. Like do like 2 or 3. Like I would do 3, but like if you want to just do 2, and then maybe in 4 hours do another 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't take too much vitamin C. And
Yeah.
then
Well,
one other-
quercetin's a little different because it doesn't hit your system all at once. So if you take too much vitamin C, you get a loose bowel movement. But if you do bigger dosages of quercetin, that doesn't really do it because it takes a while for your body to process it. So, we don't store vitamin C, so it makes it have like a longer lasting effect. And so 2 is pretty solid given your body size and everything. And then in about 4 or 5 hours, do it again. And that should really knock it out. If it doesn't, just keep doing it until it resolves.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then one other question about the practices with the 3 brain.
Uh-huh.
I was curious if the practice ever initially creates chaos rather than the calm that everyone keeps talking about. Having
chaos. I mean, I haven't had somebody tell me that, but I mean, with anything's possible.
okay.
But you are kind of shifting things around, and it's kind of like a stepping stone to where you start doing this thing where you call it like reconciling like opposites. And you just start doing these like harmonizing practices with things in your body, things in the environment, with some spiritual aspects in your body. Like you just start doing those, and the 3 brain thing is key. And so like if that's starting to happen, it makes me wonder if maybe doing the part where you're reducing the agitation. Like I do that as maintenance, probably at least 1 week out of a month, where I use like spikenard or vetiver or galbanum. I like galbanum for it, by the way. Like galbanum, I inhale on each center, and then when I harmonize all 3, I'm inhaling that as well. And it's very soothing, and it makes it easier later on when I'm doing the practice. So I would say maybe just double down on that.
Okay.
Yeah, if that is happening, it probably has to do with the nervous system. And it's funny because we were just actually talking about this earlier today. But part of how you like attract and communicate with the environment, and not so much people. I mean, it can be people, but it's just like your environments, just all the different factors in your environments. It is this balance between the sympathetic and parasympathetic, or fight, flight, and rest and repair. But the manifestation is in the palms of the hands and the soles of your feet. And so there's practices about going through and calming that down that would come later with the 3 brain practice. And if even if you wanted to do it now, you could just do like hyssop, inhale, awareness on your palms, awareness on the soles of your feet, do that several times, and then go to helichrysum, and then palms and soles of your feet, and then just keep going back and forth. And there is like a significant practice to unwinding the different components of the nervous system in the body. That is a very good way to do like damage control like quickly.
So
like I'll give you an example. Like today, like Samantha did something about a week or 2 ago where she wrenched her back really bad. She was doing a bunch of stuff around here, and she'll be doing fine, and then all of a sudden like her back will lock up, and she has a hard time moving. And we put stuff on it, and I did a little healing on her, and it got a little bit better, but she's like, I'm good if I'm just sitting here, but I can't bend down. And I did this thing that we're talking about, but with energy on the hands and the feet. And then I said, how do you feel? And she goes, I feel the same. And then I go, bend over, and she can almost touch her toes. And she was like, well, I haven't been able to do that for a few weeks. But that's just the impact of what the soles and the hands and the nervous system, like there's more going on than we realize with just our normal, like kind of medical, like information and symptoms and things like this. You know, we're like like an energy circuit that's interacting with a bigger energy circuit, and sometimes you just got to open up some channels.
Okay, so I was curious. Part of why I was asking was I was wondering if it was good timing or bad timing when there's a lot of things going on. That's
I would say good timing, because I mean, usually like when I would teach it in corporate setting is we weren't doing it like when things were just all hunky dory. It was usually, okay, we're in the middle of a problem. We have to be able to innovate and get out of this as smartly as we can. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to teach you guys how to do this. You're going to start practicing. We're going to do this right here, right now.
Okay.
And it's how you like kind of walk out of situations, like how you resolve things, and going beyond the sensory mind.
Terrific. Thank you.
Yeah. So I would say jump on it.
Definitely. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Sonia, then Megan.
Hey, Sonia.
Um, what is in memory support?
I don't remember. You keep lobbing them up to me and I'll just keep hitting them out of the park. Let me look it up. Hold on. Now the next joke is I don't remember where I put it.
Don't ask me. I can't remember either.
Memory support. It is rosemary, golden eucalyptus, basil, sage, petitgrain, and peppermint.
For golden eucalyptus.
Basil,
Basil. Okay.
and then sage, petitgrain, and peppermint. Heavy on the rosemary, heavy on the sage.
You used to have another one that had like rosemary and petitgrain and do you remember that?
I think it was like something for the brain. It was brain something. It was rosemary, petitgrain, and grapefruit.
I had originally got memory support, but it didn't have any peppermint in it. And I don't know what else. But I know it had petitgrain and rosemary.
Yeah, I might have changed it, but if I changed it, it was a long time ago. Like I don't remember changing it any time in the last year or two.
I remember the smell being so much different. I had
Yeah.
really liked it, but
Yeah, I
anyway.
can do it without the peppermint for you. Just let me know.
Okay. And you you said that you had said before quercetin and vitamin C work differently.
How they get processed. Yeah. Quercetin gets processed by the body slower.
Okay, and is that mainly the difference between the two?
I'm sure there's like little nuances, but basically because it process slower, it stays in the body longer and can elevate vitamin C levels over a period of time for longer periods. Where vitamin C, you take it in 4 hours, it's out. Like, where quercetin, you can take it and it's in your body for a while. So
I take liposomal vitamin C, which lasts longer, and I can
good.
even take 3,000 milligrams
Yeah, good for you.
a day. But, I wasn't sure what the difference
That's probably
in
good.
action of the two.
Yeah, that's probably good.
Okay. And, when we do classes that are supposed to be really relaxing and relax the nervous system, then I'm like awake for like 3 days. And then
Hmm.
a lot of the classes I get a lot of brain fog after, and I'm not sure what to do with that.
That's a little bit of a paradoxical thing. It makes me wonder if maybe using some stimulant, like if it's relaxing, we use something stimulating so that you have the paradoxical effect. Yeah.
Uh,
Let me think about that.
okay. Mm,
Hey, and we're going to be out there in a few weeks.
yeah.
And
Um,
then, oh, did you have another question?
Mm.
Okay, go ahead, Megan, and then we have some
Hey,
questions
Megan.
in chat.
Hey Greg,
Hey.
I'm on this mission to clean my protective webs as much as I can, and so I took
Good for
some
you.
suggestions you gave me, but I mean, I'm scanning and they just seem like super congested, and so I did Inula on the kidneys, and then I also did that blend Aegis on the soles of the feet to kind of
Mhm.
like calm things, and then I've done a couple protective webs baths, and I'm inhaling on the kidneys for long periods of time. And the reason I'm concerned about it is I'm trying to do some kind of psychic protection stuff and doing the Phoenix class off and on. And I feel like, well, if I can't get my protective webs clean, is any of that going to
Okay.
work?
And so like you're just scanning them, or is there symptoms that are presenting?
Well, scanning, but this is all related to the claustrophobia issue, which sounds like a psychic attack issue. You thought?
So the thing that I would say, like, I don't know that we've ever talked about protective webs this way, but maybe a little bit. But so part of the issue is that they play a pretty significant role in the function of both the fight flight mechanisms or sympathetic part of the nervous system and rest and repair. And the rest and repair is not so much that it's just like when they get overstimulated or they get blocked, they just don't allow you to like, you do have a bit of a depletion in the vagus nerve. It's not horrible, but even when you look at the protective webs, the blockage isn't so much in the fight flight, it's like the inability of the rest and repair to kick in to a greater degree. So you could treat that a couple of different ways. The Inula should have resolved some of that, but just fortifying the vagus nerve with like marjoram or lemongrass, tarragon, but inhale it quite a bit. And you know, you can do stuff up on the head and the base of the skull, but I would say in this particular situation, it's probably more in the basic, and you could even do it on the kidneys themselves. And that should have kind of like balancing thing with that. There is like a different way that you can work it. It's just like I usually like to do it. I guess you're not in crisis, so it would work. So you would alternate using hyssop and helichrysum on the kidneys. The kidneys and maybe the basic. Still do those other things. The Aegis, still use the Anula, but just add into the routine of going back and forth between hyssop for several breathing cycles and then helichrysum for several breathing cycles. And what that's doing is it's regulating the play between sympathetic and parasympathetic. And then after you're all done, at the very end, just inhale like some protective web. Don't even direct it anywhere. Just inhale it.
Okay. To work the vagus nerve, do I let me read what I wrote here. With marjoram, for example, do I put my attention on the vagus nerve, or I'm just
No, just put it on the kidneys and the basic.
okay, kidneys and basic.
Yeah. Most times you could run through like the respiratory tract, you know, the lungs and the bronchioles and the digestive tract and things like that. But I think yours is more just it's in the basic, you know, the basic kidneys.
Okay. Can I there one other thing crossed my mind related to this. There was an energy healing session I had years ago where the person said that, and you know, you can tell me if you think this is true or not, where this person said in a previous lifetime I was in
I already say
imprisoned.
no, like it's not right.
Okay.
For somebody to have the ability to perceive that deeply, there's very few clairvoyants around that can do that.
Okay.
It's they're usually just taking pieces of information and their mind makes up a thing, but to be able to go through and pierce the veil and see that way, it's, for one, it's exhausting. It can be done. It's exhausting, but most people don't have the energy to do it.
Okay, so
Oh.
I have one last question then.
Mhm.
Can you help me understand how psychic attack can contribute to a phobia? Because I'm just trying to attack, not attack, trying to heal this
well,
any way I can think of.
Fixate the mind. Like you have like a fight flight response. It's just like the pain thing that happens. The pain happens, and then what happens over a period of time, it causes a disruption in the autonomic nervous system, and then the mind will start to fixate on the issue, and then there starts to be like no movement. So you just have to systematically kind of go through and unwind and break it apart.
Okay.
It's not so much the attack itself, it's the after effect. Like it's like a whiplash. Like it's not the initial injury, it's the imbalance that got caused that causes the actual real syndrome, you know, for whiplash. And same thing with psychic attack stuff. It's not so much the energy that got projected, it's the reaction that happens in the body, that it causes an imbalance, and then it becomes hard to pull out of it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So it's just, I mean, even though we're talking about something super esoteric, it's just like mechanically just a physiological response to it, and you just have to undo some of the physiology.
Okay. Thank you.
Or not even undo it, but like refine it or re-educate it, like get it back to the way it was functioning beforehand.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
And then go ahead, Channing, and then we have some questions in chat.
Hey,
Hi, Craig. Big day tomorrow.
I was going to say, is there anything you need to tell me?
Not yet, but I
had my
know.
fingers crossed too.
Well,
Oh,
after
what
I
a
spoke with
jet.
you on Friday, that person wanted to talk to me again, which is tomorrow.
Okay, good.
And he's the manager of the person that's hiring. So
Well, you
I'm
tell him
gonna
I said
tell-
chop chop. Like, come on, get going. Come on, chop
I'm
chop.
wondering if you could help me tell them chop chop.
Yeah. Give me their phone number. I'll make a phone call.
I love it. And then, so I'm meeting with him tomorrow.
Good.
And I met with somebody today, another team member. And then tomorrow I have a presentation with a different team.
Tremendous.
So
You
they
got
gave me
choices.
an assignment, an exercise that's due on Friday, and then I'll be presenting it to the team that I actually like. So
I think you need to go into work tomorrow with a little bib on because you're eating at a buffet. You get to choose whatever you want, and you don't want to make a big mess. So just walk in
Well-
with a little lobster bib on.
I think that's wonderful that you're seeing that buffet. I'm not.
Yeah. It's because you're in it and I'm not. It's easy for me to say.
So
If we were switched, I'd be like,
So I would, so I have a presentation due tomorrow and
Mhm.
it's obviously not complete. So I am wondering what can I use tonight to get past that inertia?
How much work do you have to do? Like, do you just have to put pen to paper or do you have to be innovative in the things that you're doing? Like, what do you need to do?
A little bit of both. So it's going to be very analytical, left brain. So I have the pieces, like I have the ingredients. I just have to I have to just cook it. I have to
Okay.
cook it, plate it up, and serve it tomorrow. So it's that, like, mentally I started working on it a week ago.
Mhm.
Mentally a week ago, but I need to produce a tangible product right now. And it's a presentation.
So I would go back and forth with a couple of things, like
Mhm.
like the thing that's just like a mental stimulant and all those kinds of things. Basil, like I would go a bit hard on the basil, a few drops internally. But like if we want to get like fancy and do a little mystical esoteric thing, and get those creative juices flowing, some form of aloes, like inhale it, put a few drops on your wrist, drop on the heart.
White oud, okay? Or
Yeah, white oud, aloes attar, any form of aloes, aloe C, any of that.
okay.
Yeah, if you don't have that, like maybe sandalwood, but aloes would be a better choice.
I have white oud, and I think
Yeah.
I might have aloes from class. No, I definitely have
Yeah.
white oud, so I can
Yeah,
pull that.
fire up that white oud.
And then basil, 2 drops in water.
2 or 3, maybe 4.
Yeah.
Maybe if you got a
Okay.
little heavy-handed with the bottle and you went, oh, whoops, there's 4. Oh, what am I gonna do? I can't waste it. And you drink it. It'll be okay.
Okay, that sounds good. I feel like it's going to be kind of like an all-nighter, but I do this to myself. When the stakes are high, I like
Well,
to do this to
I
myself.
would say that sometimes we do best when we have that hard deadline, because we have to make tough decisions where when you have like 3 weeks, you're like, well, what about this? What about that? And that moment where you have like, okay, I have 12 hours, you got to make it work. And you'll notice your decision making is very different in that time frame versus 2 weeks prior. And I would say recognize your skill sets that happen when you're under a deadline. You have 12 hours and you got to make it happen. And then try, they're in you, so you try to engage them 2 weeks out. And so, like, for example, there was this one person that she was very smart, but she would get close to the deadline, and some people are really good with the deadline. It might be uncomfortable and you don't like it and you're like, I don't have enough time or energy or whatever, but you still make it work, right? You still hit the deadline. She was not one of those people. And so, we talked about like how to go through and like, have her align herself at the time. But what I started doing is like, okay, so your your boss is giving you the deadline of August 25th, but really your deadline is August 18th. You know, like I would make her always scoot up the deadline so that when she fell apart, she still had time. And I was like, there's no like, well, I still have an extra week. This doesn't matter. I was like, it's the deadline. You have to make that deadline. You treat it like you're underwater, and that's oxygen, like that deadline. And over a period of time, she could get to that skill set. I don't think you have that issue. I just think that it's a little bit uncomfortable when you get close, but I can't tell you how many times I've rewritten a booklet and shot it to Letty, you know, Friday afternoon or Friday
yeah.
night, going, okay, we're making all these changes. This is the 7th one. I swear, this is the last one. I won't do it again.
I'm
it happens
constantly
all the
tweaking
time.
like that too.
And but that kind of, like, I'm calling it a conflict, but it's just whatever you want to call it. That conflict is tied to the creative process. You know, the creative process isn't just pulling something out of ethers. You're taking two things that are opposing each other, or there's some sort of conflict, and you're like, how do I make this work? And then you present it, right? And so conflict, and then having the deadline and feeling uncomfortable, is part of the creative process. So I would say it's always good when we can make friends with it, but it's like, it's not something to be avoided. It's something like, it's time for me to do that thing, you know? And so that idea of even like the fake deadline, it's like, let's induce the conflict so you still have a safety net. But you know, I would imagine for you, you know, it's uncomfortable, but you've consistently done it over a period of time. And even if you gave yourself the fake deadline and say it was like 3 days before, you'll still think about it until it's turned in. You know what I mean? That's
Yes, I
the
do.
nature of when you're refining in your problem solving. You know, you keep thinking about it, like it's good, like how we were talking about the elbow, like focus on it and then let go, and then focus on it and then go, I just really have to let go. But here you're on a deadline. You're going to have to just hit the deadline.
Yeah.
But that conflict, you know, I can remember when I was young and I'd be doing something really hard and I was like, this is horrible. I hate this. I don't ever want to do it again. You know, being in the middle of whatever it was. I can't, I chose this. I pay good money for all the tools and everything to do all these things. I'm never going to do it again. When I get back, I'm selling everything. And then we'd be done. I'd walk over to a friend. They'd be like, how'd you do it? I was like, that was the most fun I ever had. That was amazing. But in the middle of it, it was not comfortable. But that's the nature of the creative process. It can suck and be amazing, and both can exist and both can be there. And even that is those two things that you're having to reconcile. You know, it's like you almost just want to make friends with it. Like, yeah, I don't like it when I see you, but still, when you're here, I do good. You know, does that make sense? Like
It does. I'm laughing because it is really uncomfortable, but
it's super uncomfortable.
I've gone through it before.
Yeah. With all the stuff you've done and the deadlines and everything, it's just it would be bad if it didn't make you uncomfortable. Like if you were like, yeah, this is okay, I feel pretty good about this, and it's not, doesn't make me nervous or doesn't make me a little afraid, or I'm not overly conscientious about what I'm going to produce, that's when you'll start screwing up. Like that you're a little nervous, a little afraid, a little bit concerned about what you're going to put out. It makes you perform better. You know, I remember somebody coming up to Master Choa, and you know, kind of a similar situation, and they said, "Can you do a Hinomi and take my fear away?" And he goes, "Why would you do that?" And they were like, "Well, it's uncomfortable." He goes, "But do you want to fail?" And the person's like, "No." And he goes, "Well, the fear is going to make you perform. So you're what do you say? You're not a good enough taskmaster of yourself. So the fear is your taskmaster." And I was like, that's uncomfortable and genius all at once. Like, but I thought about it and I was like, that's when I perform. That is when I nail it. Not when I'm all comfortable, but like when I'm uncomfortable. And so, you know,
I
You
would
do-
be
you do
perfectly
well in that
okay
area.
dialing back the fear a little bit here.
what's that?
I would be okay dialing back the fear a little bit here. It's showing up in my neck. So physically, my neck, where it connects. You know,
So
like at the
fear
lips.
response, like inhale some benzoin, inhale some anula, inhale maybe even a little cystis just to reduce the fear, and then just try to focus on what you're doing. And sometimes the fear is just not being engaged in the, like, as soon as you get into the work, the fear will probably go down a little bit. So if you're having like physiological responses, just try to tone it down until you get there.
Okay. And I'm just wondering if you could take a look at the role that I actually want. For some reason, yesterday I was talking to the hiring manager. He was telling me some backstory, and then I started thinking, are you moving forward with this role, or is there any chance that it's going to get canceled? I didn't ask him that, but it seems like they had been going around and around, and then they decided to pursue this, but I'm really far in the process, and I would really be surprised and sad if something were to change, were to get canceled.
Right now, it doesn't look very chaotic, which would mean that it's in flux. It doesn't look completely cemented, but it looks like it's moving.
Yeah, I think so too, but you never know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, somebody can make a decision in the morning and change it. So, you know, you just keep adjusting and adapting, and you don't put all your eggs in one basket in this kind of situation. You have lots of choices, or at least a, you know, handful of choices. And so
I have
I mean, you
two.
shoot for the one that you want, but you're open to whatever is the best choice, you know, whichever one's coming your way.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
And then we have a couple questions in
Yeah,
chat as
fire
well.
away. Mhm.
If I want to use 2 oils internally daily, helichrysum for cholesterol, lemon for high blood pressure, should I wait some time between each glass of water? If so, how far apart? And these can be used pretty much permanently, right?
What was it? Helichrysum and
Yeah,
lemon?
so helichrysum and lemon.
Those two actually could be used together. For what you're talking about, easily could be used together. So that's not always the case, but in this case, just put them in the same glass, knock
Okay.
it down. And yes, they could be used for very long. I mean, you can use lemon in big dosages for the rest of your life. Helichrysum, I mean, you can use it as a tonic. There's no real reason to stop. So yeah, you're solid.
And for this weekend's class, I don't have Angel Capsiel. Is that okay?
Yeah, no, that was just a suggestion. We're going to play with whatever angels you have. And even if you don't have one, I'm going to tone the angels as well. But, you know, if you have Michael and Metatron, I just chose 2 that, like, you know, it could be something kind of fun for people in that little kit. But anything goes. Any angel, any archangel, anything goes.
And that was it. Great questions
Okay.
tonight, guys.
So let's do a little practice. I'm going to bring up the energetic mechanics. So we're going to do a practice of, let's see here. Let's do something with the aura. So let's have you pull out. This might be a little limiting. let's have you pull out if you have a eucalyptus, if you have a lavender, if you have a tea tree, if you have any of the oils, Glory of Lebanon, Moses, Chakra Root Cleanser, Master's Blend, Aura Cleanse, Solomon's Hyssop, Nimbus, and even just hyssop. Mhm. So hit me again. Okay, so you're taking long, slow, deep breaths. Your awareness is somewhere in your body, somewhere where you have an issue. Your back, your hip, your shoulder. Taking long, slow, deep breaths with your awareness on that spot. You're still on that area, taking long, slow, deep breaths. And then pause and be still. And with your stillness, your awareness is on your forehead and back head at the same time. Just be still. Thank you. Your awareness is on your forehead and back head. You're just being still. Fixate on that part of your body again. And again, you're taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths. And then pause and let go. Your awareness is on your forehead and back head. You're not inhaling. You're just being still. Hey, you're just being still. The same oil. Begin inhaling. Your awareness is on the bottom of your tailbone, the basic chakra. Your awareness is on the spleen, left-hand side below your ribs. Your awareness is on your spleen, left-hand side below your ribs. Your low back, opposite the navel, on your low back. Long, slow, deep breath. Your low back. And the top of your head, the crown. Just pause and be still. Just pause and be still. Notice how you feel. Yeah, we're going to do it again. It could be something in your body, could be a thought, an emotion, a situation, a person, an event. Focus on what it is. Take long, slow, deep breaths. Long, slow, deep breaths. Same oil. Let it go. Your awareness is on your forehead and back head at the same time. You're just letting go. Your awareness is on your forehead and back head. Again, focus on the situation. Really focus on it and take long, slow, deep breaths. You're still focused on the situation. You're taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths. And then let go. Your awareness is on your forehead and back head at the same time. Just let go. Again, focus on that same situation. Long, slow, deep breaths with you being super focused. Your awareness is just on that body part or that situation, that emotion, that thought. Take long, slow, deep breaths. You're just letting go. Your awareness is on the forehead and back head at the same time. Begin inhaling. Your awareness is on the bottom of the tailbone. Long, slow, deep breath. Your awareness is on the bottom of the tailbone. Your awareness is on the spleen, left-hand side below the ribs. The low back area, opposite the navel on the back side. And then the crown. Your awareness is on the crown. And pause and be still. Just pause and be still. Notice how you feel. Your body, your emotions, your mind. Okay. Well, remember tomorrow night we have our study group, 7 o'clock Central Time for the everyday basics. We also do the healing sessions with Astara at 6 and 6:30. And then this weekend also is the Angel Essentials, which is a free class as well. And you know, whatever angels you have will work, and even if you don't have angels, that'll still work. So come and join us, and hopefully we'll get to see you again here sometime soon. We're going to do the prayer bowl blessing here in just a minute with a star, and we're going to bless Maui and some of the areas that have been hit by the flooding and stuff. So if you can join us, that would be great. It's usually about 15 minutes. It's not a super long thing. So join us if you can. And if not, we'll see you again maybe tomorrow or on the weekend. Take care.